Hi there. Hope you're having a good day today. I think I'm having a good day today, and I hope we'll have a better day together. Today we're going to talk in this mini lecture about the Texas legislature, which is part of this first module. The Texas legislature is making laws in the state of Texas for all of us here in Texas. It came about as a result not of the U.S. Constitution, but of the Texas Constitution that was written in 1876 as a result of the Civil War. And to understand our politics today in Texas, you have to understand a little bit about the Civil War in this country. The war itself began in 1861 and was over in 1865. Texas seceded from the Union as a Southern Confederate state and fought for the Confederacy. After the war was over, we went through a period in Texas and in all the southern states. There were 11 states, southern states in the Confederacy. In every one of those states, they were reconstructed by the North, and very, very harsh penalties were applied to those who had participated in the Civil War on the side of the Confederacy. The Democratic Party, you have to remember, was the party of the South at that time. And everybody in the South, most everybody, was a Democrat, because that was the party of the South. The Republican Party was the party of Lincoln, the party of the North, and you didn't want to be in that party, certainly if you'd lived in the South and participated in the Civil War. Anybody who was a Democrat in Texas lost the right to vote and hold public office. The right to vote and hold public office for a period of time during Reconstruction. That allowed the few Republicans that were in the state to vote themselves into office. So, in this period, right after Reconstruction, you had a Republican governor, E.J. Davis, and a Republican legislature and Republican judges in the courts. Because this Constitution and other constitutions had created three branches of government very early. It was a very bitter period for people who had been old Confederates. And they didn't like E.J. Davis. He ran a very centralized administration, and he became the most hated governor in the history of Texas. At the end of Reconstruction, which was about 1875, all the old Democrats, all the old Confederates, got the right to vote back and the right to hold public office back. And they voted out all the Republicans for 100 years. When I grew up in Texas, nobody was a Republican. George Bush Sr., George H.W. Bush, came to Texas and went out to Midland and had an oil and gas business out there. And he was a Republican because he had grown up in Connecticut. His father was a Republican senator up there. And he came to Texas and said he saw nothing wrong with being a Republican. And so he tried to organize the Republican Party out there in West Texas. And he tells a great story. He was the precinct chairman out there and holding an election. He said in that particular primary, only 3 people came to vote in his Republican primary. It was himself, his wife Barbara, and one drunk Democrat. Nobody else voted there because they all were Democrats. You didn't want to be a Republican because that made you a damn Yankee. Okay, so that was the way things were. But in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, and today, people were moving into the state who had been Republicans, and they saw nothing wrong with being a Republican. And remember, even these old Democrats were pretty conservative people. Texans are a pretty conservative lot. So it wasn't that the Democratic Party was liberal or anything like that. It was a conservative party, but they didn't want to be Republican. But all this in-migration of many of your families made it okay to be a Republican, and now the Republican Party dominates the state of Texas. Well, after this, the Democrats here get themselves back in office for 100 years, and they write a constitution which is very restrictive. And here is the operative word right here, restrictive. It ties the hands of government. They didn't trust government because government was pretty powerful under the Republican administration of E.J. Davis. They have a legislative branch, an executive, and a judicial. And here is the legislative branch. You have a bicameral situation with the House of Representatives, this is in Austin, and a Senate, this is in Austin, a state Senate. In the House of Representatives, there are 150 members, and they serve 2-year terms. And in the state Senate in Austin, there are 31 members, and they serve 4-year terms. So here's your legislature. Now, how did they restrict the powers of the legislature? They made it part-time. We have a part-time legislature because the legislature by Constitution, Texas Constitution, only meets for 140 days every other year. It's called a biennial session. This is an interesting word. It means every other year, not every single year. Another way they're restricted, their salaries are set by the Texas Constitution, and they make $7,200 a year. Can you live on that? Most people can't, and so every legislature has to have another job unless they have some source of income. So this really restricts the time that the legislature can spend in Austin to deal with the issues of a very vibrant state. We are the second largest state in the Union. We have about 24 million people that live in Texas. We have all these issues, and yet this legislature is trying to deal with them like they were in the 19th century in 140 days every other year. Now, the governor can call some special sessions of 30 days each, but they rarely like to do that because it costs a lot of money. So here is your situation for the state legislature, and I think this sets the stage for your reading in your text and preparation for your test in Module 1. Okay, hope you have a great day. See you next time.